G'day, Doggies fans. All things Bulldogs, episode 29, round 24. And we're playing the Roosters this Friday, as if anyone didn't know. We'll wait a bit for some people to come on. I have done this last minute. I know I'm normally on at about 7:30, but had some stuff to do. G'day to anyone who's online at this point. Obviously, we've got the Kennel podcast going tonight at 7:30 as usual. G'day, Joby. Oh, g'day, Brian. Welcome. G'day, Noah. How are you? Oh, well, hopefully you can keep it in your pants tonight, Brian. That'll be lovely. Switched over from the Kennel. How are those boys going? Getting lots of feedback on whether they should drop Marnie, keep Marnie, all that sort of crap, all the headline stuff. I know his brother's not happy. His brother's definitely not happy. Go on, Brian. Just don't put shit on the players. Just have a think. Think why. Because when we win, it's not going to matter, brother. G'day, Mister. It's me. How are you? Good to see you again, mate. All right. Thanks, brother. And Joby, good to see you, mate. I know you're working hard, brother. G'day, Gratitude. All I say, Brian, think 3 times, type once. So we're up to 12 people. That's pretty good. I'll wait till it to get to 15. Nice to meet you, Noah. How you going, mate? I think Hayward really earned his spot. Now, if you're not a member, if you haven't subscribe, like, please do. If you come here, and make sure you give it a like and all that sort of stuff. G'day, Timmy. How are you, buddy? Oh, mate, you're one of my besties. That's for sure. We've got to get some of yous back on here again, I think. I've been hearing the sound of my own voice for too long. G'day, Daniel. Welcome. Good to see you, mate. You're watching the cricket. G'day, David. How you going, mate? Good to see you. How's it over there? Very well. All right. 16 of us. Let's get into it. Lots to talk about. Oh, here's a positive from Brian. To start, Burton is has to be one of the best 5'8" in the game, and that's on one leg. People don't realise he's on one leg still. Actually, a good point, and a point I've made plenty times. Burton's like a well-timed Melbourne Cup runner. He's a bit like a forward. He needs a few runs under his belt. I felt the start of this year was his best ever. Well, the first 1.5 games that was. First game wasn't brilliant, but he's usually pretty bad in his first game. I don't know why. It just takes him a couple. First game back after injury was pretty rusty. You know, we flogged him, but he had about 5 errors, bombed about 4 tries. But, I think the wider audience, I know Cooper Cronk's very happy with him. He has more in his game this year, and it's all come off the back of running. And as I said in the review, kick our running last week without thinking past, just run, set us up so well. And the very fact that we were able to score 2 tries where nearly every player in the team touched the ball, taking it from one side of the field to the other, just shows that when we get teams under the pump and they can't get out of their end, they've just got no energy to get up in our face. And they just slide and they keep sliding until we score in the corner. And that's pretty much what happened. And all this talk about Bulldogs not having any attack, I think look, I hate making comparisons to Penrith, but it's a proven way to win in the current climate. And but it does go beyond that. There's a lot of Bulldogs about what we do. And there's also some stuff that I think that Cameron Ciraldo is really trying to implement in plain sight. And a few judges are starting to see it now. And a couple of us have really talked about it. Actually, my mate raised a point that Matthew Johns only raised today, and he raised that a couple of months ago based on discussions that we'd had regarding our style of play and having pretty much everyone able to step into anyone's role if required. And it's a style of rugby league which makes you very competitive if you hold the ball, and teams have to play at a very high level to beat you. And I don't care what anyone says, we've been hard to beat. No team, except for the Dolphins, has beaten us in 2 consecutive halves. We've won a half in every game of rugby league we've played this year. I don't know how many Bulldog sides can say that for a very long time. So we're almost there. It's 4 weeks to go, and we've been waiting for this final phase, phase 4, Roosters, Storm, Panthers, Sharks. Now, Sharks will be without 2 players for the rest of the regular season, 2 really good players in Nakora and Jesse Ramian, but they'll be ready to have a real serious crack, I believe, in whatever semi-final they play once they get there. I think they'll be hard to beat. But I must say, Horodi's been playing absolutely marvellously in New South Wales Cup. And we had an 18-all draw with Newtown a couple of weeks ago, and he nearly beat us on his own. But anyway, Matty Burton, what a champion. He's just going really well, the way that he is coming in and out of the game. And what I really liked last week is that the amount of kicking that they did together. With Sexton and Burton, it's pretty much for 90% of games, it's either been Sexton sort of trying to do the most or Burton trying to do the most. And if Burton's not doing many kicks, it's because he's as Brian alluded to, he's got an injury in one of his legs, and that's why he doesn't do it all the time. They keep saying, "Oh, why aren't you kicking the leather off the footy?" It's because he can't do it. Just like why isn't Critta just playing fullback? Because he can't do that rucking it out off the yardage stuff at the moment. He can't be running from sideline to sideline 4 times just to make sure he's there if a ball gets through or if someone makes a break. That they need someone who can actually do that at the moment. Not to say he won't be able to do that in the future, but we will talk about and have a look. Is Critta going to continue with this sort of injecting himself from time to time? It goes really along with the stuff that I've been saying, guys, for a long time, that our attack for the majority of our games this year has clicked in when it's needed to. Obviously, in the wet, that's harder to do when you're chasing points. So if your discipline allows you to get behind, chasing points is hard when you rely on a game of relentless possession and that sort of thing. So composure in the wet. If we stay composed in wet games, we can put on the scoreboard pressure. But it's making sure we do all those things with our discipline and holding our line and not conceding too many tries or anything early, because that's when our game seems to fall apart. But we can stay composed, do the work in the middle. We've got a lot of our players there now who are they trust each other. They're very passionate about their defence and not seeing that line get cracked. And, last week, the Warriors had nothing last week. Obviously, Tamari Martin getting a Category 1 pretty early stifled them a lot. But I felt, and obviously they didn't play Tanner Boyd because they didn't want kick out, giving him more nightmares. So it's a case of, just staying composed. Last week I said this to Dee before. I haven't watched a game all season where I just felt so composed after about 2 minutes, like we're going to win. I felt that way against Souths the second time before the Lightning came, and they just looked devoid of options in both games, to be honest. But it's sort of been a little bit stressful most of our games, even in our run of 6 or 7 straight wins. But last week, I just felt it's like that composure that they had, the fact that they were just willing to go up 4 points to 2 all, and just knew that they were going to outlast, and just drive, the Warriors into frustration. And they had nothing. Sam Healy looked likely, that the young hooker, when he come on, very good young talent, gets a double ricochet for his efforts and gets a try. And then Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, when Carraz had a bit of fun throwing a ball out, and gets the intercept. But that's all they had. Really flattered them on the scoreboard. A 30-2 or 34-2 scoreline would have been fitting for how dominant we were. And I don't care. I find most Warriors fans are really pretty cool with it. Some, obviously, we had Andrew Voss there trying to instigate, trying to validate them that they've been ripped off. Viliami Kikau has slid over. His whole body's over. Like, it's just a try. If they're doing that, I'm calling it a try. It's just, I couldn't believe that people are worried about that. And then there was a couple of head highs and whatever else. But there was head highs all game. Canterbury, because we keep getting up and not staying down the majority of the time, don't get the calls. Because they're sort of drawing a line in the sand. We're not going to be pussies like Delamontani-Zalesniak was. It must be embarrassing to some Warriors fans the way he's been carrying on. And then, he just jumps up and runs away when they get the penalty. Like, absolutely disgraceful. G'day, Tony, and thank you for being a member. Good to see you, mate. Astute signings of Hayward and Hayes. Very much so. Noah says, I really want to see Serrato give Burton the freedom to run. I think he has, mate. I think he has. And I like what you've said, but I really feel he has the freedom to run. And when he sees anything, he's been going at it. And, so look, we're going to talk a little bit about our attacking forays. And Brian actually made a comment that Hayward's got no X factor. Well, he said that on one of the things, and I sort of was a bit cranky this morning. We're not paying Bailey Hayward to have X factor. But go back to this game in the first time we played them. We came back from that deficit. Bailey Hayward ran the football. He doesn't run it much, but he decided to run. Left foot, left step, left foot, right foot, left foot, pass into Kikau, try. No, he hadn't done that in any game. Utilise that footwork. Go to Kurt Mann against Parramatta. That footwork, left, right, passes off to Hayes under the posts. Never seen him do that before to that level. Never seen it. Critta on the weekend turns it inside 4 or 5 times in a row on that left edge to Cherry and Kikau. And I just knew when he got it, then double dummy, just crashed through, scores in the left-hand corner. Perfect. How many times has he done that? Look, he's done some crafty stuff, holding the ball like a tennis ball. And like, that's still one of the greatest tries I've ever seen in my life individually. The defense just didn't know what to do. What I see is our team. I know Charles Nickel-Clodstack had a really poor game, had no involvement, and then just absolutely had his pants pulled down in that situation. I'd say he'd be injured. But we just pull things out when we need to. Jacob Preston against the Sharks. Everyone thought we were going to lose that match. A lot of people thought, even in our own supporters, weren't confident, especially with no kick out. Okay. They swapped Curran and Preston around after they had Curran play the left edge. And then what do? 2 plays where Preston has actually basically run through like a decoy, got a held up pass flat out in front of him. No, sorry, behind him, and then being able to offload and they've done it in other games as well. But they just continually bring these little moves and little variations to what they do, and based off their game plan alone, once they crunch teams and dominate possession, which is why we're way up ahead at 53.5%, number one with possession. Teams are unable to just defend our run-of-the-mill plays, left or right. Like, we just execute. I go to the Manly game, though. They were up for that game, and their defence, they were. We nailed 3 or 4 tries that were just magical in that game. So we show that we can do what's required when it's needed. But doing what's required when it's needed against Penrith is going to be the litmus test. And the Roosters games, I feel we always get dragged into a lot of passion with them. And you can see a heap of stats rolling through. So they've won 7 of the last 10. But it's been 1-1 the last couple of years. 2 of their last 3 games against us, they've scored 26 points. So no, there's quite a lot. There's quite a lot there with these two teams. Even in games that we've lost against the Roosters, most of the time when we've won, it's been pretty close. A lot of high-scoring games. Lost high-scoring games to them as well. So I know it's got nothing to do with it now, but when we look at the team lists and stuff, what I see is a club that is just got some of the most skillful, enterprising players and athletes in it in the Roosters, and they've been doing that now for a good 6 or 7 years, and since taking over the Central Coast, which is why we don't have the Central Coast Bears, I'll tell you that now, because of the Roosters, because they own that now, that pathway. It's a great pathway to own, Central Coast. When they produce all this talent, and they can score tries from anywhere, and you see these kids coming through that are just, you watch their reserve grade games, their Jersey Flegg, their Harold Matts. I watch all of them, and they're just a threat. Whether they're coming first or last, it doesn't matter. They're just threatening with the ball. They're encouraged to play really open, entertaining footy. You can see there's a lot of young people always in the grades, younger than probably, so they're developing them quickly as well. And only the best make it. But there's one problem with them. They can't grind. They don't know how to grind. There's not too many Roosters sides, even in the younger teams either, that can outwill and outlast. They blow teams away. When it's close, they seem to fall apart. And I've noticed that's been their problem against Penrith and Melbourne since they won the comp. Since Cooper Cronk left their team, and he's been coaching their halves and stuff, they just haven't had the composure to play high possession, high completion footy and wear teams down. They find themselves when you strangle the Roosters, they start to try and play footy to get out of it. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they're successful. Or they'll score a brilliant try and the comeback will be on. They'll look really threatening. And they're always threatening the Roosters. There's still a core bunch of players in their side that contribute in exactly the same way. Tedesco through the middle, always breaking tackles, always a threat. Out on the edge, you got Crichton. You've got Tupu, who's just so consistent, Daniel Tupu. Then you add players like Billy Smith, who's just been in the waiting for years, but you see he's that one of those guys who just tries his heart out all the time. You'd have a player like him in your club because of his effort. And then there's new beast Mark Nungawinga Wais, sorry. I was saying it the other day, and now I've forgotten how to say it again. There's a way to say it. Just an absolute freak. And you got your Victor Radleys and your Connor Watsons, all effort, all energy. Add to that Spencer Leniu off the bench, Lindsay Collin, all effort. They've got the right type of players. They've got players that Canterbury would say, yep, we'll have him. There's not too many players in that side we would go, yeah, he's no good. And then you add Sam Walker to it, who's probably the best heads-up footy player you've ever seen. Now, I hate the Roosters, but they're fucking good. And they're just constant overachievers. So what I expect the Bulldogs to do is to go out there composed again, ready for everything. Now, I've got on the picture here, I've got Max King and Spencer Leniu. Leniu went after our boys in the last game. It come back to bite him. Now, what I saw from King and Hughes last week was so composed that they knew the Warriors were going to come out and try and bash them, just like Manly did. They toughened up, they held their own, and they, ran the ball 25 times between them in 26 minutes each, which is more output than they've done collectively as a 1-2 punch than any other game in the season. And we need to see it again. Nafahu White, who's proving himself to be really good. But we can get under the skin of these guys by staying composed, getting numbers into the tackle, making sure they can't offload, and being ready to shut down any of their enterprise play. Their season's on the line. So if they're in trouble, they're going to fire shots. They have to, right? So we have to be prepared. But the game plan for us doesn't change. It's composure. It's grinding them down. And it's that work we do between tackle 1 and tackle 3, which really sets the tone. It was just in the rain, it levels everything out, and it's harder for the individual player running the footy to get the space or to utilize speed or any of that sort of stuff. So you are a bit of a sitting duck in the wet. But in saying that, where players catch the footy and where we let them get to after 3 plays, it has everything to do with why we've won 15 matches this year and only lost 5. And we have to continue to do that against the Roosters. Right, it's first 2 minutes of the podcast. Don't go off too early. Too many rumblings. The club are interested in Tino, and I'm sure you get multiple offers. Yeah, Timmy, where did that noise come from? Can you tell me? Can you tell me where the rumblings came from? I'd love to hear it, mate. Because I don't want him. What I want the Titans to do is to tell him to fuck off. I actually feel a bit sorry for the Titans. They need just the blood juniors that want to play for the Gold Coast and really celebrate the people who want to be there and don't want to go anywhere else. And if they start doing that, if they say, no, we're not going to get no bit more for Tino, we've given him a $10 million deal, a 10-year deal worth over $10 million, and he's going to go on the open market, see ya. And everyone wants to say how great he is when he's just constantly trying to get more money out of him. No, this is what's wrong with the game. Let him go to Perth. It'd be good for them. He won't go, though. He doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to leave his family, his grandparents. And at the end of the day, how many games do they get out of him? And how well do they do when he's on the field? I feel it's a mindset thing, not so much him. He is a great player, no doubt. But he tries to do too much, and the rest of the team sort of lets him. I find they're a better side without him. And the results will prove that this year. Go have a look at him. Forget his stats. And I think the same problems with the Broncos. If Huss and Carrigan do less, I think they'll do more. I think that's part of their problem as well. I agree, Brian. We don't need him. Restructuring the pub deal. Brian, Thompson's a good player, and I'll tell you that now. We don't need to argue about it. Different players are different things in different teams, and he's not getting any support because they've had too many injuries with their forwards, and they don't play a style that does it. I don't think the Dogs need Tino. No, we don't. G'day, Brent. Welcome. Good to see you, mate. I believe Gavin has taken a lot of pressure off Matt Burton. Burton is running the ball now, which is a big plus for the Dogs. G'day, Macca. Go the Doggies. Do you see Crichton playing same role in the 20-metre red zone if Tracey's back? I'm not sure, mate, but I think they'll have it up their sleeve, which is a good thing. They've done reps. They'll know what to do, and they'll be able to do it. But, yeah, that's the other thing, Brent, I really wanted to add about Galvin and Burton last week, and I said this in the review. The composure of Galvin last week was just, I was really impressed by that. And he doesn't go missing. That's the thing. He just keeps getting the footy. He's not overplayed his hand. He hasn't been scared to throw a ball, but he hasn't been stupid to throw one when it's been high risk. He threw the ball he needed to throw at the right time to win a game. And that form's held up for the Dragons, hasn't it? They've since beat the Raiders and the Sharks. Yeah, they got done by the Cowboys the week after us, which most teams get towed up after playing us. That's a fact as well. But yeah, their form sort of held up a little bit. And I always thought it would because they've got so many talented juniors. And they've got some hard workers, but, they keep playing all the big boys. And they're completing high, which is allowing them to win. As soon as they start playing footy, though, in high pressure situations, they'll fall apart. That's their Achilles heel, and that's where the Flanagans and that just can't get it done. You see Crichton playing some role? Yeah, potentially. I think it'll be just another thing that we add to our variation and have up our sleeve. Galvin is really covered for Burton. They'll be a great duo very soon. Dan, imagine Galvin and Burton after a full preseason. Well, that's it. I just think they complement each other well, and I just like the fact that he's taken it all on board. Like, he got 3 repeat sets last week. That's pretty good for a 20-year-old kid, I reckon. Now, Toby had that in his game. This year, his short kicking games just abandoned him. He just couldn't get it through. Hardly got any repeat sets compared to what he can do. So I think it come down by trying to run the footy, trying to do all that stuff and developing that sort of part of his game. And look, he's killing it in New South Wales Cup. He's just he's Nathan Cleary level in that grade. Like, he's better than Woods at the moment. You wouldn't pick Woods over Sexton at the moment. You need to win a semi-final or something. Although Woods has got a bit of aura about him, and I think players can see it and sense it. That's another thing as well. Aura in rugby league is the unspoken. Terry Lamb had it. Stephen Mortimer had it. Brett Kenny had it. Eric Groth had it. Alan Langer had it. I think Alan Langer had it more than Andrew Johns had it, to be honest. Difference with Johns, though, he could just smash big prop front rowers one-on-one. And halfbacks who can do that will go very far in this comp. No room for Tino. Cannot believe how good Burton is playing. G'day, Gats on. I miss you, mates. Been working my ass off. I've got tomorrow off. Let's chat. We really, really need Tracey. I think we do, Brian. I agree. And if he doesn't play this week because he's not quite right, we might. Hopefully, that doesn't prove too correct. But look, the hybrid roles Serrano's been doing it. There's that total soccer philosophy. I forget the name now. Macca actually talked about it. Andrew Macca. We're talking about how, just the prototypes of certain type of people, players that have this mentality to play 80 minutes, players who know how to pass, players who know how to kick, and then if players who can play left or right, and then the players that they've got that tick off most of those boxes, making sure they can play left or right for the most part. Obviously, Kikau, he's been doing that left edge stuff for a long time, and he's a senior player, and he's just so dynamic there. But for everyone else coming through, left and right, wing, centre, left and right, it's having players for all seasons. Centre's playing, as I said, centre's playing front row. Attack, defence. And then you don't see a player like Kurt Mann or Bailey Hayward show, Kurt Mann's, runs to the line, sums it up, backs out, runs to an edge, creates a, 3-on-2, 2-on-1. Brilliant. Sums it up, uses his leg speed, gets through the middle, no problem. Uses his footwork, yeah, 100%. But the way he ran onto that ball at speed, left, right, for that try for Harry Hayes, and we'd set things up with our effort, 100%. But the coach knows that they've got these parts in their game, but they only reveal themselves when they need to. Okay? And when the players go, okay, we're going to unleash the atomic weapon, And Critta's just like that whenever we need him. He's the first go-to, but there's more players there that can do a lot. You go back and you watch players like Harry Hayes as a junior. Now, he's not throwing offloads willy-nilly. He's not doing much of the passing stuff. He's just doing his role, right? Just doing his role. There's going to come a play when he will enact Harry Hayes in all his glory. And it may not pay off at the time. But what we're seeing is, inevitably, when it's done at the right time, it pays off. And in finals and grand finals, you need those things. And if you go back to a lot of grand finals and semi-finals, prelims, there's teams which just ambush opposition sides with things that they just did not expect. I still remember the 94 grand final against Canberra. We beat them to get basically in the major semi, so we went straight to the grand final. They then had to go back and win and then meet us in the grand final. And they bring in a guy that they've hardly played all year, Paul Osborne from the Dragons, and just down that right edge, playing wide, wider than I'd ever seen him play. Yeah, he'd sometimes play wide, but not that wide in attack, and just tore us to shreds and just got us under scoreboard pressure. The next minute, Terry Lamb is concussed for the whole game, but still plays, but played like he was concussed. Probably his worst game ever. Never stopped trying. I don't think he would remember the game, to be honest. But just those ambushes in big games. And I see us as a team that has that completely in our kit. And I can't wait for us to get to one of these big games. I just hope we can absorb pressure early like we want to. And it all starts this week. Phase 4. The final run home, last 4 games. We make a statement against the Roosters. Okay. Make their season come down to basically having to beat the Melbourne Storm in a couple of weeks. Right? And then we've got the Storm in Melbourne. And I don't know, it might turn out we lose 50-0. I don't know. But I'm not afraid. Playing Penrith after we play Melbourne in Melbourne, that is going to be a big deal. Sharks last round. Hopefully we're in a position where we can blood some youngsters, which I've said a few times as well. Is Tilly set to start? No, so Tilly's not named in the 23, so he won't be there. I think he'll be named in the extended bench next week. And when he comes in, it'll either be Hughes, Curran, Hayes, if everyone stays fit for next week and supposedly plays well this week. Bad form might make up Serrato's mind for him. If there's any bad form, bad missed tackles, knock-ons, that sort of stuff. Because it's a big game, big moments. We need the best players there. So it'll come down to one of them 3. I think there'll be a lot of people talking about Reid Marnie potentially being dropped. I think his brother's all over. He's just actually Reid Marnie's brother's just deleted all his posts off Facebook. He was just going nuts. It started again after the Broncos game, which is pretty much told the whole story. So Reid wanted to stay until we said we're not in a position to offer him an extension. Then he wanted out. And that was before a ball was kicked. I'm not saying he doesn't love the club. I'm not saying he should be. I want Reid there for the rest of the season. I think Reid has a huge role to play in our side. And I don't know why people look at him sort of any differently to a Bailey Hayward on the bench. Because he can play small lock if he has to. He can throw the ball. And he can run and create. I've seen it. He wants to do that. The hooker roller Canterbury is past the footy. But it's funny because his brother's been posted all this. Obviously, gets on the grog, and he's passionate like his little brother or big brother. And started, he was writing shit. Bailey Hayward is the slowest dummy half I've ever seen. The slowest passing dummy half I've ever seen. Shit like that, just rubbing it in. Which Reid doesn't need that. And the Bulldogs players don't need that. See, that sort of shit causes division. When family get involved. If my brother did that, I'd punch him in the mouth. Literally. And then I'd run. Reg Kirkby, welcome. A long-time Bulldogs supporter. I love your channel, watching you from Thailand. Oh, thank you, Reg. Much appreciated, champion. Unless he wants a premiership and will take less coin, can you imagine our pack with Tino? Wow. Yeah, well, look, if he says he wants to come for $500,000, no problem. And I think Tino in that scenario would win premierships. If he just goes to a club and plays a role, instead of having to be this big monster leader, offloader. Get up there, do your hit-ups, make your tackles, have a break, be fresh for every stint, and not have to make everything happen. And then when your team needs you, that'd be a great situation for Tino. But wherever he goes, it's essentially going to be on huge money and expecting him to be more than what he is. Yeah, he'll win you some games. So will Huss. But they don't. They need to play their roles and be less dependent on. And this is why I love Stephen Crichton. He touches the ball less than any other player in the Bulldogs backline, right? That staggered approach to his use is why we're so successful. But it's not just that. Look at our success rate when he doesn't play. It's not too bad, is it? If you go and have a look at it. There's not, against the Broncos last year, no Stephen Crichton. Been quite a few wins, no Crichton. Burton's actually probably a bigger loss to us when it comes down to what his boot can do. It's like an extra 3 props running it through the middle. Fast and getting quick play the balls away. Just that extra yardage. It's so important. Critta, he doesn't do too many. He's not the worker, and I talk about this. He's the enterprise player when they need him. Plus, he's been carrying so many injuries. But when Critta takes a carry, I don't think I've ever seen him get pushed backwards as a Canterbury player. And there's something in that too. That's just not strength. That's will. And I see how determined Jacob Carraz is. But his technique from fullback against West, he was getting smashed. Following week, adjusts a bit, barely got driven back. Got handled a couple of times, but much better. Critta, he gets to the collision and he accelerates through it. It's funny, I see that with Spencer Leniu. It's a similar sort of thing when he runs. They have this, they sort of run hard into the contact, and then it's like they almost stop and then accelerate hard again and drive through. They just absorb that impact and then push through it. Always. But to elaborate on my point with Critta, because he does his role, and everybody in the team each week just does their role, where he's not called upon to be touching the ball 100 times like a Tedesco, where he's got his signature, he's got his fingerprints all over the game. No, he makes his tackles, he communicates with his edge players, he motivates the team, he gives them a rev up, he sits there and demands certain things happen at certain times. He gives it to his players, especially his best mates like Carraz. Seen him giving it to his winger, seen him giving it to Toby. He does all the captaining stuff constantly. But with the footy and without it, he's not trying to do too much. And it's funny because games where they sort of, I feel where he's done that, we've lost. Games where he's tried to do too much, like sort of forced it. I noticed against the Broncos when we conceded early, a bit of panic, and he come in and he made some tackles, and they just worked it. He did a dropout. They then played to his edge, stuff like that. Against West, I just felt he really tried hard in that game, and having Romy there, the leader of their little posse, I think there's a little bit of head noise there with Romy, which you'll need to overcome. I just could be wrong. I don't think it presents itself consciously. I think in the subconscious, though, there's a little bit of, I've got to prove to this guy I'm the leader of another pack. And you know how much he respects all these ex-players and all his mates. He's a good human. But it's because he just does his role, guys. He does his role. So when he's not there, someone else comes into that role everyone continues doing their role. There's no panic, and they expect to do well. They lose, we sit there and make excuses. Oh, Crichton wasn't there. But for the most part, they win. And I think his greatness is seen in what he doesn't do, not what he does all the time. It's more how he, I didn't see this in him early on. What I saw was someone that was, I used to be critical of players like Tallis, all right? Because it'd be like, oh, he only made 17 tackles and 8 hit-ups. And sometimes you get man of the match on that because it's when and how he injects himself. And Critta's another one of those special players who is just there to take the intercept when it needed to be taken. See against West when they're putting them kicks through and he's down ready to tackle, he catches the footy, makes the break. Like, we didn't score. How many players are doing that? He's pretty special, and he gets the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs a premiership in this year or next year. Like, it's still too soon. It's not soon enough. I know we've been waiting a long time. I get it, but it's something which we've been dreaming about for a long time, but wouldn't expect it to have happened so quickly if it does. And he'd be considered one of the greatest of all time with the effect that he's had. And I know that's not what he would want because, as I just alluded to, it's the fact he just does his job. And then his job's to captain the side and to make his tackles, communicate, and make his plays when he has to make them. And that's why the Bulldogs are so good, because they're so adaptable to roles. And you can see when players are in different positions. So if Burton decides to run, but they still want to make another play the other way, they just adapt. Players fill other positions. If something's on, they just know how to do it. If someone gets an offload away and they've got to get things going down the left and they're not naturally in their positions for their blocks, the players just know what to do. They're so well organised and so well drilled, and they can play. That's just another thing which I've noticed. We just got used to watching our team look a little bit really unprofessional and embarrassing sometimes on last plays for so many years. Even when Brent Reynolds was there, it used to be chaotic sometimes. But it just seems so much more. Yeah, they've had a few moments for sure. Every team does, but just so much better than it used to be. No Satilli there, Timmy. I'm here, David. Toby Sexton has been good for us, but Galvin has really sped up the Bulldogs' pace. G'day, old fella Dave. Welcome. So who is our ref? It should be announced by now. Grant Atkins, Dave Munro, Matt Noyen, and Adam G. Now, look, I think Grant Atkins, for the reasons that he shits me, he thinks he's a bit of a copper. He thinks he's the old fella who used to be, what was his name? Got his friggin' name. Bill Harrigan. He thinks he's Bill Harrigan. No, he doesn't cop shit. We saw that with Josh Reynolds, sort of when he started to draw a line in the sand around then. I think he's there because of Spencer Leniu, sort of to warn Spencer, no bullshit, and because he'll address him. But yeah, he's very much like a lot of referees, a momentum referee, and I'd have to say he's one in the top 2 or 3 at the moment. But it's hard to say who the other 2 topped. Todd Smith, sometimes I reckon he's the best referee in the game, and then he just does something ridiculous. It's just so hard to like the refs or any of them. I thought Adam G was pretty good until they basically just stopped picking him for any of the good games. So now he just blows the whistle for anything. Thought Tracey was out for 3 weeks. Yeah, well, I thought he was going to be out for the rest of the season, Noah. So it's coming along pretty well. They can complain all they want, but we won the game fair. G'day, Michael. How are you, brother? Was at the game last Saturday and was surprised how many supporters turned up despite the horrific weather. Well, I hope you're going to the Roosters game, Mike. Has someone bought Mike a ticket? Doggies 1951, Poosters. Amir, I'm sick of everyone saying Penrith and Melbourne, not one giving us credit. Yeah, that's all right, though, brother. They don't have to. Melbourne have been there or abouts for 2 decades. Penrith have been at the top pretty much for, 5-6 years now. It's understandable, but that can work in our favour. I got to go now. Have a good day, Noah. Thank you. Sorry I didn't see that earlier. G'day, Damo. Great win last week. Critta hands on ball more, true X factor. Roosters get carried by the NRL all the time. Their referee's always the best player. Well, over the last 6 years, they are the most penalised team, Brian. But that's because they cheat. They'd happily give it. That's why they brought in the 6 again for the Roosters, because they used to give away so many penalties on their own try line to stifle attack and frustrate it. And they used to practice defending on their line and literally doing that. And then trying to punish teams straight away once they sort of did that sort of stuff. But the Dogs are the most penalised side of this year. Yeah, that was pretty shit. Yeah. Well, hopefully I think that's why Grant Atkins is the referee. Strangle the Roosters. I'll sleep well tonight dreaming of that. Mate, they've got one of the best. They got one of the best teams in the comp on paper. And I know that because I know the quality of their juniors. They're fitness. They tackle well. They run well. They do everything well. Their problem though is composure. You strangle them. They just keep making mistakes. And that's exactly what we need to do to them. They'll know what's coming. They'll be looking to punish us. They'll be looking to get repeat sets, to tire us out, to do all that to us. And then they'll be running it back through the middle constantly, then get us on the edges. Know exactly how they do it. They're a good side. They're, in my opinion, the mentality of how they play is poorly coached. And that's been obvious for a long time. So much so that you would think something would be said to the coach themselves, because I hear him talk about it all the time, allowing kids to play enterprising footy and have fun and not to, make them too robotic, have them understanding all the, the composure stuff, but allowing them to play exciting rugby league. And yeah, that's great until you play Penrith and Melbourne or any team competing for the comp. Because what the Roosters, I think they're about they've had 3 wins out of about 35 games or something against those two sides in the last 8 years or something. Hopefully we'll be one of those teams. The Roosters. G'day, Sayed. Welcome, brother. It's potential, Sayed. It is potential. I'm not going to call it. I think it's there's value in keep and read there. I think it's worked well. I think it's been our style. And yeah, I didn't mind what he did for 20 minutes on the weekend. Ran the footy, looked good. And he can play footy, Reed. I don't know. People say he's not creative. I don't think the game plan is for the hookers to be too creative with Serrato. G'day, Mondai. Walker hates contact, so hopefully they'll run at him all game and tire him down. I'd like to see kick out, put some major kick pressure on him as well, so he shits bricks. I think he will, but there's always that, he'll step, he'll put a kick through to his winger. Like, he does some weird shit that pays off a lot. Haven't watched what that Ipswich side did up here that year. I watched quite a bit of Queensland Cup that year, and what the Walker brothers did just shows me why he is how he is. Keeping the ball in play, just having so many options with the skills, sometimes not knowing what he's going to do till he does it. Like, he's a special kid, no doubt about it. Because our team is players who can cover multiple positions, and Reed is only a specialist on the one hooker. Yeah, I don't think he's a specialist hooker, though. He could play halfback. He could play lock. He could. And he tackles forwards like he's a forward. And I've seen him get in the line and engage the line and pass the ball out the back in block shapes plenty of times. So, yeah. But I know the commentators were saying exactly what you just said on the weekend. They were talking about that. Man can cover this and Salmon can cover that. I just think it's a bit early. And Bailey, as good as I think he is, I think Bailey Hayward will be one of these players. Now, tell me, what do people think of Cameron Smith in his second year of rugby league? No one gave a shit. No one knew. Next minute he was playing Origin, but he was still under the radar. Cameron Smith wasn't Cameron Smith until he was Cameron Smith. And I think Bailey Hayward might. I think in the Dogs' opinion, he has the potential to be a player with the communication and the mindset to be as influential. Cameron Smith was slow, but had so much time. I don't think he had the footwork of Bailey Hayward, but his mind unrivaled his mind out on that field. Barely did a dumb thing ever. I hated him. Stuck fingers up people's asses like John Opawati. No one says a thing. Protected. That's a protected species, I'll tell you that one right there. The fact that he's still with old mate Isaac, but didn't know Isaac cost him a premiership with the salary cap stuff, apparently. In the early 2000s, the rivalry between the clubs was fierce. 2, it should have been a Bulldogs Roosters grand final. 3 Bulldogs Roosters in the prelim. 4, we beat the Roosters in the grand final. I'm not sure we would have won in 02 either. A lot of people said we would have. We definitely had we won some games where we were outplayed, but still won. It was a great year that year until what happened. Remember it like it was yesterday. Thompson will become a much better player in the Bulldog system. 100% Mondai. Very good point. Gold Coast has always had a problem, even back when they were the Tweed Giants, Seagulls or Chargers. Any I have missed? They have a huge, strong rugby league nursery, but keep failing. I think the problem, Dave, is, there is a bit of a curse there. It's the type of people there. It's the lifestyle. All the stuff everyone's ever talked about, yeah. But they've always made the place a retirement home. Always. It's been a retirement home. And then they've paid too much for players who haven't delivered. Kieran Foran's probably been the best retiree to go there in a long time. That Chargers side was in 97? They were pretty good. I think they made the finals. They might have finished 8th in a 14-team comp, I think it was, or a 12-team comp. But yeah, Preston Campbell was playing for him. He will get better. Yeah, having a 1-2 punch, and he'll be the man when he comes here. He plays 53 minutes on his head, can play more. And he's a defender. He's in that style of what we want. It's more about his presence is going to be important for us. And he's going to just mature more and more into that role. I think between him and King and a couple of young guns off the bench, it's going to look good for the Dogs. Timmy, don't forget the massive turnover players in 08, Mason, Oga, Miles. Oh, you don't have to tell me about that, my friend. They throw good money at guys in their careers or who don't want to be there. That's it, brother. Ian Marnie's a quality player. He's actually improved so much since signing with the Cowgirls. To be honest, he is twice the player he was. Less brain explosion, liability in defence. He'll play. Can't drop a top 5 hooker in the game regardless of his flaws or the future. We're aiming to win the comp, not prepare for next year. Winning comes first. Well, I can't disagree, but I think they're doing both. And I think it's actually giving confidence. Because one thing that, I actually don't disagree with any of that. But one thing I'll say is that this club under since Serrato and Gus got here is doing things that are unnatural. Just look at all the comments that you have all said. Everyone here, including me. We need another forward. We're too small. I know I've covered that a lot, right? That's not just it. Too many utilities. Who are these old bastards? Who are these old players? All these players that have come have played a huge role in what's happened, whether they're playing first grade or reserve grade. Doesn't matter. They're all playing a huge role in our club. Okay? Not just about who's on the paddock. Way more than that. The other point is players improving when they get here. Not used to that. Not used to seeing that too often. I felt Sam Parrott improve when he got to the Bulldogs. Had more of a hands-on role. I'd say Josh Morris was always going to improve though. But it hasn't happened for a long time. And there's players coming here at 29, 30, 31 that are becoming some of the best in their position in the comp. Max King, Connor Tracey. Yeah, Connor. He's been that influential. Right? Stephen Crichton's a better player since he's come to the Dogs. No doubt about it. Statistically not. No. Influence-wise, yes. Kurt, man. And then you look at the juniors. As I said, that's where it all sits. We've got so many juniors in that just couldn't find their feet. Promised a little bit, did all right in a couple of games, but just couldn't find their feet. These guys just come in, do their role, contribute, add to the team. Don't let anyone down. Lipboy Hotboy, I still don't think he's made a mistake in any game he's played. Maybe one poor defensive error, maybe, in the wet. Can't get a game at the moment. But Bailey Hayward. As I said, this game isn't about the flashy stats, right? It's about the influence that the players have on each other, how they work together, how they work for each other, and the results that they're getting. 15 wins. You can't say that you thought they were going to get 15 wins this year. You're in the very few minority if you believe that. But still, after the West game, after the Dragons game, this club season was written off. When Galvin come to the club, this club season was written off. We keep being written off. And it's not by, it doesn't matter what the media only repeat what we think and say ourselves. It's by us who keep writing them off. Now, look, after that West game, I saw all this crap coming through different. You go through Instagram and Twitter and the whole lot, and there's people that are just sort of exclusive to one media focus, and oh my God, our players are entitled, you know, all this sort of shit. Quickly answering a question regarding Tino, I just saw a post on Facebook. The Dragons Bulldogs have expressed interest in Tino, but I'm with you. We don't need him. Jovi, I think personally Galvin really starting to show why we got him. Like 100% there, Jovi. Any news on Satilli? Probably next week. We've swapped him for Tino. No, Satilli's not in the 23, Brian. Sorry, bro. He's not playing. So is Tracey, but we'll wait for game day. He might give them one more week. Tracey is named in the 17. Sorry, in the 23 at number 21. I will put the team up. Let's have a look at the team. It'll be scrolling along the bottom there for you. Bloody hell, guys. I'm just going to rush through because I'm way behind. It's almost like the zero effort to provide a pathway for Gold Coast juniors, so other clubs provide it. Like my junior school, which is Rugby League Powerhouse, had a pathway through Para. That was a long time ago. Brian, he only played 15 minutes and Hay was still on the field and only taken off the last 10. There's a chance he may get dropped. Come Storms and Panthers game, Australia. What's a bigger bet? But say it, I will say, before everyone gets into an argument, that we were running downhill that game. Okay. That 70 minutes Bailey played wasn't like 70 minutes against the Penrith Panthers. He's buggered if that's the case. And he's coming off earlier for a break. We need to have security there for him. And I think Reid can play two roles and so can he, if need be. I think it's great for his development. He's earned the spot. But there's a lot of value in having them have a two-hooker approach, in my opinion. G'day, Tiam. Welcome. Canberra Park, Palm Beach, Crumman. It baffles me. 100%. Yeah, like Xavier Coates, Tom Dearden all played with my little cousin all through the juniors, Reece Walsh, Benji Marshall. So, yeah, honestly, Marnie has the best service of the game, but other than that, he lacks what other quality hookers have, and he's a tackling machine. Yeah, I don't know, Sayed. I think Marnie's actually quite good. He was actually had more try assists than any other hooker last year. People didn't pay attention to that stat, though. A lot of the try assists were just one-off passes from the ruck, putting forwards over either side of the ruck a lot of the time. Tom Dean was a Palm Beach Crummer boy. All right, I want to ask your thoughts about Panthers Storm this year. Whenever Storm loses, that team will lose 13 plus following week, and Storm will win 13 plus. That's happened 5 times this year. Yeah, that might happen to you. Might happen. So if Storm win, Penrith will win 13 plus next week. If Storm lose, they'll beat us by 13 points next week. And then after we play the Storm, we'll lose Penrith 13 plus. Maybe. I don't think that's going to matter too much. It will for all our fan base. Everyone will say their stuff, and we should, that's what I mean. They'll be like, did the Bulldogs destroy their season by bringing in Lachlan Galvin, mate, and to accommodate blah, blah, blah? Don't add to it, guys. No. We can lose games. The semi-finals are a new competition, and we've proven that numerous times. It's about making sure that we're 100% ready to go at semi-final time. Okay? That's all that matters. And I even think this week Melbourne haven't, there's players that they could play that they're not going to play. I think it'll be a good game, and I think Penrith will be very hard to beat. I hope it's a draw. Titans are morons. That's it. All right, well, we're giving it to the Titans. That's why I think the Titans need a new strategy. Get players that want to play there. Run under the cap. Forward, reward some players with extra money. Front load their cap a bit. And then, start playing like a team just on effort. Because they've got enough talent there. And I find when everyone does their job, they're hard to beat. So, they've only won 2 games, 13 plus after losing this year. Hot take, we will keep an opponent to nil at least one more time this season. Well, hopefully it's the grand final. But I'll take this week, Mike. Sorry, I'm just rushing through now, guys. Well, if Melbourne lose, we then got to beat Roosters. If we beat Roosters, Melbourne lose, we're in second. Then we've got to play Melbourne. Hopefully we beat them. But yeah, for us to get second place, we're probably going to have to win 3 out of 4 and hope that Melbourne only win 2 out of 4. There's a chance of that. They don't have Jerome Hughes. Panthers will finish where Panthers finish. I think they finish top 4. And look, if the Dogs don't stand up for whatever reason in this last 4 games, top 4 is not even guaranteed. It should be, though, but top 3 really should be. We beat Roosters this week. I think we finished top 3 for sure. But yeah, none of the 4 games we've got to play are going to be easy. We'd like to play Storm week 1 in Melbourne, then if lose, follow that with Panthers. Yeah, that's a good point, actually, Paulie. I don't mind playing Storm week 1 in Melbourne. Canterbury have done that in semi-finals numerous times, going to Melbourne and beating them in Melbourne. I think at least twice. I know it's hundreds of years later and it doesn't mean shit. But I just feel that we've gone down there the last couple of years under Serrato and pulled their pants down in 23 and were the better team in 24. I felt we were the better team. They didn't look like they had much. I was sort of surprised when they scored, and then, Cherry hadn't passed out a car all year, throws him two of the best balls you've seen. We get the front, and then we lose it at the end to Guinea and Katonga. That's another example there. Yeah, just keep running at Bronson. Don't worry about the Fox. And then it's going to open up when we need it to. There's going to be times where you need to throw it. And then what eventually happens is that you both start making breaks because your combination just scares the shit out of teams. But they're worried that you're going to pass to the Fox, so they hang off, and you're able to use your strength and speed to break them. And that's why I sort of want to have a faster winger eventually. And I will say, Anari Tuala, I've been very impressed with, not that he scored a couple of tries the other day, right? I've just been impressed with his carries. He's played well in the wet, been one of our best each week, most consistent, and just stuck to the task. Watching him in New South Wales Cup, watched him live play Western Suburbs, he was struggling, coming back from injury, new team. Talon De Silva was having a day out. He's going try for try. Brent Naden went nuts. He was just setting up tries left, right, and centre on the edge. It was 34 all in the end, but great game of footy. But yeah, I was like, there's no way he's coming in. A couple of weeks later, he's in the team. Yeah, I don't know. I think, Brian, I think you need to, you can do what you want, but honestly, sometimes it's better just to not have to make the big statement of who's the best and who's the worst and who's shit and who's not shit. Just let things unfold. Don't have to be right. As I said to you yesterday, mate, the amount of egg that you're constantly wiping off your face must be getting a bit smelly by now. Since playing the Dogs, they have only played bottom 4 teams over and over. Look it up. Raiders haven't played a top 8 team since round 12. The Raiders haven't been to Sydney since June and don't go there again. And they may not go to Sydney until the grand final if they make it. There's a stat for you, Michael. Where are you, Michael? Yeah, look, the Panthers defensively have their players like the young fella at number 6 and Jesse McLean's and all these guys, like the Luke Lewis lookalike on the wing. They call him Milky Jenkins. Like you just look at him and go, he's their weak link, and he made 2 or 3 try savers against us, and he's been scoring tries. They just got the pick of the bunch from their backyard, and they're all winners. And to make that side, the pathway you got to beat to get there. This is what people don't get. I hear people talking about our juniors, right? Our local juniors from our 12 clubs. Fucking proud of them. And the amount of competition and fighting that goes over kids on all the bordering areas, and people literally moving so that they can play for a club and shit. You've got so much competing factions. A lot of them underfunded. But luckily, that's improved a lot. Great work by our club to get things back on track there. And John Corey and the like, and plenty of others in the junior football club, the league club as well. Two different things. You've just got literally not even a third of the amount of juniors to pick from. And as I said, their St Mary's Ron Massey Cup side, which is 4th division, I think would beat our New South Wales Cup side just as often. But different priorities in our New South Wales Cup side. It's not winning. It's lost a lot of games. It's got a lot of talent in it. Didn't make finals last year. He's not making them this year. But the players they're producing coming through much better than what we're getting before. All right. So there's your strategy behind that. It's about getting them ready for first grade, nothing else. But the Penrith junior system, it literally, most NRL clubs are just full of Penrith players. And we sit there and write them off like they're nothing. At your peril. But it could be a bridge too far. They've had to, since pretty much the West Tigers game, the first time they played them, I felt West deserved to win that match. But they just kept grinding. They found a way to win because they're winners. They backed their juniors. They just got more and more confidence. Mitchell Moses coming back for the Eels against the Panthers. Great game of rugby league, right? And without Nathan Cleary, Penrith don't win that match. And without Mitchell Moses, Parramatta don't get close. Both sides built confidence from that. Then we beat the Parramatta Eels in a really tight match for most of it. Galvin's first game. Then we play the Panthers a couple of weeks later. And just another nail biter. But they've started to find confidence in stuff that they're doing. And that game against us, I think, gave them the real kickstart they needed. But it started a couple of weeks earlier, just getting into that grind again and back in their defence, which they hadn't been able to do. Now, you go and watch those games where a lot of those games they lost earlier in the season, they had most of the possession in the end. But because they fell behind, they just couldn't score. They were marching up 70, 80 metres in sets of footy, getting repeat sets. They just couldn't score. Now they're scoring. They're a fucking threat. But they've been up for a long time. They had to go to Vegas. I look at the Raiders that as well and say, will they be steeled enough, right? Because it was tough for them that first half of the year. Won a lot of games they probably could have lost. Showed a lot of resilience and a lot of toughness in that regard. But had a pretty good run beside that. Didn't get a bye for 14 games, and then, I've had a rush of buys towards the end of the season, and I think they've got one this week before they play the Panthers next week, which is interesting. So if Panthers win, then do Canberra beat Penrith next week, according to the Melbourne thing. So look, you've got so many question marks about all of the teams. I'm not going to sit there and write anyone off. No fucking way. Flat out even writing the Broncos off, and they've got no Ezra Mam and no Adam Reynolds. And Ben Hunt's just likely to be that RC player that hasn't played finals for 7 years, took millions from the Dragons, 4 times within 2 years went on the open market and said he wasn't happy till he got his way. Used his old mate Gus to help. His manager's doing his job for him. And Now he gets to play for the Broncos, and he gets a chance to lead them to the finals after they were hamstrung by a couple of players getting hamstring injuries in the one play, which was hilarious. So there you go. It's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of stuff happening as it does this time of year. And then you got the Dragons who haven't given up on a finals berth because they've been able to keep winning. I said after we beat them, pretty much ended their hopes. Then they lost to the Cowboy, I think. And then they've won their last couple. So there you go. Storm should be up to beat Panthers. Panthers aren't playing top sides. We will see. We will see. I'm not going to make these calls, guys. If you want to make those calls, that's great. This game of rugby league should prove to you that nothing is certain. Nothing is certain. We go out and smash the Sea Eagles. Everyone thinks the Tigers are just going to be easy. I'm like, oh, we've lost Connor Tracey. It's not going to be easy. Plus, there's the Galvin thing. They'll be up for it. What happened? And it rained. And everyone thought, oh, the rain. Well, guess what? Warriors have a worse record in the rain than us. So are we really rectified in the rain? I don't know. If the mindset stays the way it did and the composure, yes. If they don't play with that composure, if they get rattled and just start to try and make things happen, get under scoreboard pressure. Best thing the Dogs can do if they're under scoreboard pressure is go, we're not worried about this result. We're just going to play our game. We're going to try and keep competing, keep building pressure, kick it down their end, and then hopefully take some wins when we can get them. And that, to me, is way more important. It's all about mindset. What their mindset's doing in the 80th minute as well as the first minute. Because that's where we've fallen down since Galvin's come to the club. Has been the expectation that if they set the game up like they did against Para, that they're just going to be able to run away with it. No. They've got to set it up and they've got to keep grinding until their opposition shows them that they've had enough. No Paps, no Hughes, no Warbrick this week. So I reckon they'll be up for it. They'll compete hard. And but I don't think Bellamy's too worried if they win or lose. If Beckett, the fact I feel the Storm have been completely underwhelming. They're still second. They're equal with us. But we've been a better team than them overall. And those players will be back. Hot and cold, yep. Really want this game to get out of the way and get into the Penrith. Want our revenge. Yeah, well, revenge has been coming a long time, Amir. I think Critta really, really wants to beat Panthers. Oh, no doubt, bro. And that, I think it's that's why I keep going back to composure. Just got to not get rattled. If we get driven, if the forwards get driven back a bit, get up, run it hard again, take another hit. If you get hit again, take another one. That's what King did. He got smashed by the Warriors in the first hit up, him and Hughes. King took a second hit up in the set. And he didn't get smashed the second time. He got a bit of post contact. He fucking set the scene. He said, no. I'm going to fucking do it again. And I'm going to do it again. And then Hughes started getting the post contact. That's what I mean. They took the pressure off our little guys. In the wet, your little guys are sitting ducks and the big fellas manhandle them with the ball and the ball comes out. That's what happened to us against Wests. We were doing it to Wests as well. We were smashing their little men and their big men. Forcing errors left, right, and centre. It's just error-a-thon. We have to do it, right? We need our boys, our big boys, to go out there again and just keep running hard at these pricks and get stuck into Lindsay Collins. So he doesn't have the energy to be chasing fucking bombs to win the game for his team. Get stuck into him. Right? I've got this Spencer Leniu with his finger up going, inciting crowds and shit. He was laughing at Max King. Well, fuck it. Max going to get out there, but composed. Going to grit his teeth, not get angry, run it. Oh, okay, you smash me again. Smash me again. Come on, smash me again. I dare ya. Nafahu White. Line speed, get under him. This will be a big test for Bailey Hayward, actually. And I think they'll target him too. Bailey could find himself, and this is why you got to carry Reed Marnie, guys. Don't look past it. It's not about trust. I think Bailey's going to develop, but it's just practical. You can't have a kid that exposed. So we need Reed Marnie there as security. If we have to do some sets, if they're targeting him, if they're able to isolate him off some quick play the balls and shit like that. Because there's a difference to him defending on the retreat than getting to their advantage line and cutting them down. So Reed knows what that's like too. Happened all through 2023 in that second half of the year. Kept getting picked out, and the post-contact meters we conceded that year were shocking. I remember that Canberra game, the first run of the game, Horsburgh hits Marnie and then Tavita tries to come in, grabs hold of him, and then runs 20 metres, and then Fogarty's taking the kick from 35 metres out, leans it on our goal line. This is magic round. We don't catch the ball. They catch it and score off the first set. We conceded about 70 metres post-contact in the first set alone. Everyone wants one over their old club. They sure do. Boys had some look in their eyes they had after the Seagulls loss. That's it, bro. Yeah, well, I felt last week he was pretty shit. I just felt him. But the Dogs were prepared last week, Brian. They were prepared for the stop-start. They knew it was coming. They knew that we haven't liked playing in those conditions of stop-start. We've tried to keep it in play, and so teams wear out. We were just composed. No, we're going to have to kick long, put the ball down their end and force them to run it out until they can't do it anymore. And that's exactly what we did. And Taitapiki was getting the ball on the 20 and running to the 30, and they couldn't make 10 metres off their next 3 hit-ups. It was just composed execution. It was brilliant. So Adam G is in the bunker. Tony Archer was the GOAT ref. Thought the ref was good for our game this week. Yeah, well, it might have seemed that way. I just felt there was too many penalties, Joby. Way too many. Michael, yes, to be going to the Roosters game, thank God. We need you there, Michael. Yeah, well, I just made that point about 40 minutes later, I'm here, so sorry about that. G'day, James, welcome. Marnie needs to go. Mate Hayward, his own time's better. Extra forward on the bench against the Chooks for Peter needs redemption. Yeah, James, look, he's not 100 times better. He might be in the long run, but he's not now. We need to keep Marnie there for insurance And Marnie, we haven't carried three forwards all year. We don't need to. Don't need to. Manly played us. They had three big forwards in their pack. And they bullied us and got flogged. Yeah, I don't know. It was funny to Amanda, but he's a cockhead and he's a politician up here. And I saw him the other day, actually, out at Everton Park. I won't say I was nearly going to run him over, but absolute donkey of a human. Gordon Tallis on NRL 360 Day was asked who you tipping, and he said the Roosters, almost no thought, like he was convinced. Yeah, well, he looks at them on paper and thinks that they're a better side. And he looks at the attack. He looks at the size of their forwards, looks at Angus Crichton, he looks at all these players, and he loved Sam Hawker, no doubt. The Queensland influence on the team. And I think the fact that Savala can kick the ball 70 metres, he can kick it as far as Mitch Moses. Is a real feather in their cap. And something that if they hold the ball, the Roosters, they can beat anyone. No doubt that. He hates Brian. He hates the Dogs because he thinks that in 9 we won a premiership based off a refereeing decision that he thought was cheating that cost the Dragons a game in the first semi-final. I think we won 12-8. I was refereeing soccer in Dorrigo that day. I had to record it. Got it recorded at a pub as well from a mate. Is there any truth to Corey Hawera-Naira is returning to the Bulldogs? I know he's a long-standing relationship with Gus and they're coached by Ciro in the lower grades of the Panthers. Well, he is one of the OGs from Ciro's 2015 team. He's the same age as all of them. Cleary, James Fisher-Harris, a lot of them. And he was one of the first to progress, actually. And we looked like we were going to have a great season before him and Ockenbaugh, did what they did. I think I called him a pedo at the Magic Round when he scored the winning try for the Raiders. And the security guards nearly threw me out. I was so angry watching him celebrate beating us. Made me sick. But yeah, if they want to bring him back on a train and trial to New South Wales Cup, I've got no problem with it. None at all. If he can earn his way through and beat those kids to the punch, good on him. No problem with train and trial deals for players like that. And he was a quality player. One thing I didn't like, though, is it didn't end up, it might have been a justice thing, but the amount of times he was getting HIAs when nothing happened. Like hurt his leg and then go off on a HIA. That's when it sort of first came out, and it was just players like him were just exploiting it. Perhaps a coaching opportunity for Corey in the lower grades. Maybe. Well, I thought he had a medical condition, maybe coaching, I guess. No, he's been given the all clear to return to rugby league. Green Mikey, we're running downhill against the Wars, and I do think if it was Panthers or Storms, he'll play longer minutes. No, mate. We were running downhill, so he doesn't play longer minutes. If we're playing the Storm or the Panthers, and it was more of a tighter contest. In a tighter contest, he'd run out of gas quicker, and Marnie would have played more minutes, is what I'm saying. So, look, they've been planning this all season to bring him in, and I've known that for months, right? I actually knew that. I don't know much, but I knew that. Okay. And Haywood, they're playing him at lock, starting him, but it would have made more sense to put seasoned players there and have him still coming off the bench. But they needed him to get those, those intensity minutes from starting happening. And then since the transition to hooker has started, first started in the Broncos game, in the first Broncos game, where they bench Reed and Bailey come on, they were doing well, so they left him on. But look, they've been getting that starting intensity into him, and then gradually he's played more and more minutes until he got his starting position. So when Serrato talks about he's earned it, they planned it, is more so the fact. Okay? Sorry, there's want to see me walking. It was always happening. And they knew he wasn't going to let him down. They were going to give him more and more minutes off the bench. So it went, 20 minutes, then it was 25, then it was 30, then it was 35. I think the last game before, I think the game against Manly or against West, I think he came off the bench at the 53rd minute mark. So, or it might have even been like the 47th or something. Like he played over 30 minutes at hooker in tough conditions. So they gradually build him up from that role, and then they've given him the start last week, which was really good for him to play that many minutes when we had all the possession. But when we don't have the possession, he's got to do a lot more tackling. It's harder for him to get around and navigate on the field. He's not an 80-minute hooker yet, and I think it'll take a while for him to develop into that. I don't know how long, but what I do know is Reed Marnie's fit enough and strong enough to play 80 minutes if required and keep tackling and keep holding up in the middle without missing too many. We could win the grand final, and the media would say that we would have won more with Sexton. Maybe. If we would win the next 3 games, would be resting supplies against the Sharks. Yeah, I agree, Michael. If we win 2 of the next 3, I'd be resting players against the Sharks. I would be anyway. I'd be showing confidence. Win or lose, don't matter. Go out there and have fun. Penrith do it every year. I think they'd even cost themselves a minor premiership to rest players in the last week if they could. I read somewhere that Maverick Guy is leaving the Panthers and joining the Tigers. He's joined the Tigers. Yep. Roosters game will have a big crowd. I reckon the Dogs section is sold out quickly. Oh, that's good. Just fucking get stuck into him. Love it. I think the Roosters have the best forwards. This game determines Marnie's future this year. Bailey stands up to it. I don't think Reed plays next week, but time will tell, as they say. Tallis, as I know, thoughts pretty much go hand in hand. Look, Tallis is a good human and good father, and that's all that matters. Well, I forgot how was that kick by Burton. Best I've seen. Yeah, it was, brother. I put it to a bit of song by the Australian band called Cog, and 2 Indigenous brothers in their band, and the son of Kevin Borich, the drummer. Kevin Borich from the Party Boys. For anyone who knows some of their old rock and Australian rock legends, his son, Lucius Borich, is probably in the top 10 drummers in the world. But anyway, It's me. Best 40-20 easily, wasn't it, Dave? Amazing wet ball curve he got. Yeah, it was the best 2010 I've ever seen. 22 metres out. and it landed 10 metres out. Like, that's just phenomenal. That was Matty Bird. Davo, with Panthers, Storm, Dogs, East all involved with each other over the next 3 weeks. They're going to be tired. Teasing if you with back-to-back games will be a major boost. If you win back-to-back games, they're going to be tired teams. If you win back-to-back games, you'll be a major boost. 100%. Night, Timmy. Go the Doggers. Bulldogs beat the Roosters 36-12. Nice. Maybe Michael can help with this stat. How many teams have won the week after playing the Dogs? I haven't looked at the stats, but not too many. Let's have a little bit of fun for 5 minutes before we go. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that. I'll make myself smaller. All right, so the team unchanged as the dog father predicted on all things Bulldogs this morning for 1-17, except Bailey Hayward into the 9 and Reid Marnie into the 17. The 19th man, Jake Turpin, played well last week. Daniel Saluk for Feeder, who ended up being 19th man for us last week. So if he doesn't come into the team, he will play. There's a chance he could get a go, you know. Don't think it'll happen, but he might want to play against these Roosters. Connor Tracey, I think they will, if he's there and he passes a fitness test, he'll play. Don't see Curtis playing or Sexy. Junior Tupu, Zach Docker, Clay, Sandon Smith, Taylor Losalu, and Ethan King. Blake Steep comes into the side again. He played for them against us. He's a good young player. Salisi Faketi, one of the best young players I've ever seen. It's a big call, isn't it? Look at this player. He's a special talent, this kid. Don't you worry about that. Sia Wong's out with a Category 1. Billy Smith's back for them, which makes them harder to beat. That's a big, tough back three. Then you had Savala, who's pretty big himself, and young little Sam Walker. What's he weigh now? Let's have a look. 78 kilos. And he's about 6'1" or 2. 6'1". What's Savala weigh? Look how tall. He's 194 centimetres. That's what I mean. Like, it come from nowhere. This is a big game. That's a premiership capable lineup. The amount of experience they've got still on that team. They are a big chance of going far in this comp if they make the finals. And I hate to say it because I don't like them, but they have enough good players. But yeah, I can't. This is the type of team we need to play right now. We need to play this sort of side. And anyone who thinks the Roosters are shit, we can play well in this game and lose, guys. And I'm all right with that. This isn't about win or loss. This is about performance. How close are we? I know we're the sort of the benchmark, and they'll talk about that. Bulldogs are the benchmark, and the Roosters are rebuilding. Billy Smith's been rebuilding for 5 years. His knees. Good player. Daniel Tupu, James Tedesco, Robert Toyer makes origin after 10 games. And this Nawanga Witawase, absolute gun. But look at our team. Connor Tracey, not making as many busts as Tedesco, but that game against Manly, he was something else. Jethro will be the one who steps out of the side, if that's the case. Bronson will be looking for a big game, big input this week. And, Matty Burton's there. Look, the Roosters will be looking to ambush us. And if the Dogs go out there thinking that anything other than we're going to have to work our ass off again, we'll get our pants pulled down. But on paper, they got a better side. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Well, your coach wouldn't swap any of his players for anyone. If there was a trade war going on for these players in this team, he'd be letting go of a few of our Dogs players. I'll tell you that much. For some of them, that might be a little bit controversial, but it's the truth. I think they've underperformed the Roosters for a long time. I've said it, and I'll say the Bulldogs players continually put egg on people's faces, and I think they've got the ability to do it again. And there's no way we should be favourites for this match. No way. Based on what's there on paper, with what it's done internationally. Tedesco could have outplayed Dylan Edwards all year. Edwards has only just started to come good. Collins. Nafahu White would be playing Origin if he was eligible. Victor Radley would be playing Origin if he was eligible. And Spencer Leniu plays Origin. Sam Walker will be playing Origin at some point. Robert Toya plays Origin. Tupu's played Origin. Tedesco plays Origin. Nwanga Witawase will probably play for Australia at the end of the year, especially if the Roosters make the finals. I wouldn't swap any of these players for these Roosters players. I know that much. I know a lot of people would. Can't wait to see Carraz get back out on that wing. And for this Bulldog side to get to work, Bailey to have a really get tested a lot, needs to happen. And we'll see how it goes. Like, he might struggle in this sort of environment, in this type of game. They're going to be desperate. If they lose, they're a chance of not making the 8. So there's a lot on the line for them. That could play into our hands be in front of their home crowd. They're a proud club. No matter how much I hate them. It's if I'm framing a market for this, I'm making the Roosters $1.50. I wouldn't take a bet over that. If anyone wants to bet on the Dogs, they're $1.50, yep, all day. Hopefully, I'd be bankrupt afterwards when the Dogs win by 50. But yeah, I'm not afraid of the result. I'm more concerned about how we back up from last week and how we go about. If we go out there with the same attitude as we did against the Warriors, with the composure to go out there and play, to utilise all of our strengths and to play with that confidence when we need it, we're going to be very, very hard to beat. And that's all that matters for me, win or lose. You can lose games when you're hard to beat. That's all right. Go out there and beat ourselves, though, that's not on. And that's what I don't want to see this week. And that's all I'm afraid of seeing. But I've got to go and look at these results. Michael's going through to check some of the stuff. So let's look at the games. We'll go to NRL. Go to round 1. So we beat the Dragons. Who the Dragons playing round 2? They lost to the Rabbitohs the following week. We played the Titans. Titans actually beat the Knights in the 3rd game. We beat the Eels. The Eels then... Where are the Eels? Huh? Oh, they lost to Manly the next week, so only the Titans had won a game so far after playing us. We beat the Knights. Previous week, we beat the Sharks. What did the Sharks do the following week? They lost to the Raiders. So there you go. We beat the Knights. Then what did the Knights do the next week? They lost to the Tigers. We had a bye. Then we flogged the Rabbits. Knights lost to the Sharks. Rabbits then lost to the Storm. Fair enough. We play the Broncos. I think they lose the following week. They get flogged by the Panthers after beating us. And we beat the Titans. What do they do the following week? They beat the Knights. So the Titans are the only team that's won after playing us. And they won twice. We beat the Raiders. Then I think the Raiders beat somebody. The Raiders beat the Titans. So they're the second team that's beaten us. We lose to the Dolphins. I think they win again the following week. No, they have a bye. Okay. And so do we. We beat the Eels. What do the Eels do the following week? They have a bye. We then beat the Rabbits. Eels beat the Titans, but they had a bye. Rabbits also... What did the Rabbits do? They lost to the Storm by a point. We lost to the Panthers. I'd say the Panthers win the next week. I'm sure they do. They have a bye. We lose to the Broncos. And the Broncos beat the Titans the following week. We beat the Dragons. Then they lose to the Cowboys. We beat the Seagulls. Then they lose to the Roosters. Then West have a bye after that game. And we beat the Warriors. And who are they playing this week? They play the Dragons. So look, most teams lose after playing the Bulldogs. Most teams lose. I don't think 8 teams have won. Oh, thank you, Gasson. But see, isn't that good by the Bulldogs to stick it to the NRL and to challenge a $1,000 fine at the judiciary, and one of our players gets off? So that means that Harry Hayes doesn't have loading onto his next thing. And it's cost the NRL to have people go in there, and it's cost the Bulldogs obviously as well to represent these players. But it's cost the NRL to have people at the judiciary on for a certain amount of time to deal with these issues. Now, yep, it went from 1,000 to 1,500 to Sam Hughes. Okay, but we give him an opportunity to get it squashed, and I think that's what more teams need to do. What the NRL will do will start making the monetary fines higher to try and disincentivize it, because that's not what they want. But the very fact that they found Harry Hayes not guilty means there's no fine to pay and there's no loading if he has any sort of similar offence. It's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Most teams, if we'd done this with Preston a couple of times, that 4-week penalty may not have happened. He may have played for New South Wales. I think the clubs learn a bit of a lesson. I think the NRL will learn from that too, though. We'll see what happens out of that. Yeah, so I counted about 4 teams. I think it was the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Titans won the following week. And Titans won twice. Fair enough. Titans won the week after, which, funny enough, was against the Knights both times. Anyway, people, thanks for saying hello. Was there anything else we wanted to look at? What's the team stats? Head-to-head, 26 to the Roosters, 24 to us in the NRL era. Very, very close. Our last 2 games, we've won by 4 points against them. They beat us 26-8 in what I felt was a pretty close game, even though the scoreboard was that at Central Coast last year in driving rain. We beat them in driving rain the game before. We're 4 from our last 5. They're 3 from their last 5. They lost to the Sharks, in which is probably their worst performance. The Storm lost. Storm had a lot going against them that game. Did a similar job on the Seagulls as we did at Brookvale, which was harder for them. And then smashed the Dolphins away. Yeah, I think that was that was an away game. I thought that was at Suncorp. Anyway. Dogs are just built. Cowboys close away. Dragons close away. No, that was home. 42-4 at Allianz, which hopefully sets us up for this Roosters game. Getting that game there. Would have been really nice to have got that win against the Tigers, but we didn't. And a very much comprehensive performance. Should have been 32-2 against the Warriors. They're 10 from 20 this year. Scored 535 points, conceding 463. Their completion rate 74%. Is really poor. They're averaging 26, conceding 23. We're 23, conceding 16. Faster play the balls for them. Wins at the venue 63% to 51, etc., etc. So there's some stats. I think for us, we really need Big Viliami Kikau to have a huge game, and Jacob Preston, as they do every week. But again, for me, it's these 2 big boys in the middle, Max King and Samuel Hughes, to really set the tone. Damon Salmon to be hitting top form defensively, and Kurt Mann, Harry Hayes and Josh Curran to add lots of energy off the bench, and expect Reid to potentially play more minutes if it is a real battle. I expect that Bailey will need a bit more of a break this week. But, Serrato's the type of person to leave a player out there if it's going to benefit them long term, might impact them in the game. I've seen it. I've seen him let some people go 1 or 2 sets longer than they probably thought they could. And others I've seen him hook them a bit quicker than to make sure. But he's a man for all seasons. I expect Connor Tracey will pass his fitness test and play. And then the question is, do we see Critta come in that hybrid role at any point to try and assist potentially with Tracey or whatever? But you wouldn't want him exposed too much, because the fact is with Hugo Savala and then with some big boys and ability to generate some good play the ball speed, they should be able to get some big kicks away. And he's the player who can definitely do that. And and try and put us under the pump and make it tough for us to get out of our own end. And they've definitely got the players who can play that sort of game plan. But anyway, people, it's good to see you all. Night, Brian. I want Lenu to be so aggressive that he's over-aroused and makes errors and crosses the line with the ref, just wishing it. Does happen with this type of player. It can, Dave. And I was actually sort of alluding to it, and I think that's why they've appointed Atkins, just to because he won't cop it. He's proven he won't cop it. He gets really antsy if they talk to him the wrong way. Dogs win 30-12. It was Magic Round, wasn't it? That's why it's Suncorp. That's it. Do you think Rennie will drop out if Tracey comes back in? I 100% believe that will happen. Dogs 7-6. Go, Dave. Loving it. Burton, field goal. 19 metres out from the sideline. No time on the clock. From his least favoured side. On the left-hand side of the field. Banana kicks it off a drop kick. Fuck yeah. Yeah, they've been kicking early anyway, Brian. That's been a tactic. The issue with Marnie, though, is sometimes he gets the hero thing when he's that's been one of his issues. I felt like he'll be kicking great. He'll do it really good the first one, won't get the 40-20, or he'll nearly get it, and then he'll do it again when we don't need him to, and hand away field position. Heard we're after Tino. I hope not. All scuttlebutt. But I mean 8 wins a week after I'm counting the buys, so that's my bad. Week after they play us. That's it. Reed Money would be great to throw out there to bait Lenu, just saying. I'm sure he would, old fella. That was our first 40-20 for the year. It 100% was, and it couldn't have come at a better time. One leg. On one leg. That's it. Good to see you, people. Not sure I'll get anything else out during this week. But if I don't, I'm sure I'll get some reels out to you or something like that. I do a fair few shorts. I find that the Bulldogs, some of their media with some of the songs they put on it, it's just shit. You know, why would you play Umbrella from Rihanna when you can play Rain from Dragon, you know? And there was this other one when we beat Manly, the song was shit. And I found this song called Celebrate by Pitbull. And it just goes with it so much better, you know? Oh, they need to get me to put their music on. I'm telling you. Stone Temple Pilots, Cog, Tool. Much better than this rap shit. Oh, it's got no vibe. It's just get some fucking rock. Get some guitars and drums and people singing from the heart when you're representing the players playing in big moments. Feel the chill. Let the songs build up and explode as we go. I'll tell you what, the best song, Ain't No Second Prize, when I remember when Steve Mortimer was kissing the ground, 1985, Jimmy Barnes. That song, that's when I learned that song. Fucking hell, that's our rugby league song, that is. Tell me you don't love it. Anyway, good chat, people. Oh, he's off to a walk. Chat soon, Gasson. Oh, Michael's been seeing you sign at the game. That's good. You'll be in a good mood, Michael. You're going to bring us the victory. Take care, everyone. Be good to see you all. Thank you so much and have a good night. Go the Dogs.